What up, this is your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're watching Lights Out.
This is FAISAL Khan for Lights Out, and I'm here in Wembley ahead of Saturday night's show at the SSE Arena, which will be headlined by Eubank Jr. And I'm delighted to be joined by one of the main faces on Sky Sports Boxing, Mr. Johnny Nelson. Johnny, good morning, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's different. It's a change for us all. It's a fresh new feel. I must admit, but that's the whole point of this. It's bringing something fresh and different, and a step forward.
Saturday night is obviously the start of a new journey for Sky Sports Boxing. You've got some big faces on the card, including Eubank Jr., Richard Riahporhe. What's different about this chapter with Sky Sports than the previous one?
Okay, so now. Because listen, there's so many fighters around the world, and now this chance for fighters that probably didn't get the spotlight to get the spotlight. The chance for the boxing fans that have probably not seen much of Eubank unless they go looking for him on whatever obscure channel they can find him on. It's now a chance for them to see them on the platform. Remember, we've been in boxing for 30 years, and this is usually it's the home for boxing. So of course now people are thinking, right, there he is. Now it gives the fighters on the undercard a chance to be seen.
When the deal was announced,
well, it creates competition between the fighters because now everyone knows there's a slot at the top to be the face, so that is actually really good. It's actually a chance for guys to reinvent themselves, to use their personality and their boxing ability to try and stand out. There's nobody says you can't stand out, nobody says you can. What it is, it's a chance for them to say, right, here I am, check me out, and I can be the main face. Obviously, we're talking about Chris Jr. Yeah, he'll be thinking, right, I want to be the face, but you never know. You like some Riahporhe or Savannah Marshall can all of a sudden pop up. They're the headliners. They're the ones that everybody's talking about, because it takes time to build the following of the fighters, for people to understand the story of the fighters. So to me, it's a great opportunity for fighters.
Eubank Jr. tops the bill on Saturday night. Johnny, if Eubank Jr. is to fulfil his potential, what does he need to do within these next sort of 18 months?
He needs to implement everything he's learned from Roy George Jr. I saw the difference. I see the difference behind closed door that Roy has made. And Chris, you can't doubt his engine. You can't doubt his fitness and his commitment. He needed that finesse. He needed that boxing fine tune, and to team up with all people, as in Roy Jones, you couldn't get any better addition. As long as he can apply what he's listened to, then that's the final ingredient that makes it sweet.
Eubank Jr. obviously is 32 years old now, currently being managed by the legend Roy Jones Jr. But why is it Eubank hasn't pushed on to that sort of next level in his career?
Politics, decision making. Now he's made a decision that I think is a good decision for him, not just with Sky but also with Roy Jones, and it's maturity, and that's the three things that are all of a sudden fall into place.
Richard Riahporhe is also on the card, another exciting British cruiserweight. His first fight in almost 2 years. When you look at this current division, especially domestic-wise, would you say Riahporhe is the next in line to challenge the other world champions, maybe even Lawrence Okolie?
So potentially, Richard Riahporhe is in a position where they've got to follow up behind Lawrence Okolie. Lawrence Okolie is a big, awkward unit, and of course these fighters won that challenge. And so he puts himself in the offering, and of course it's people like Isaac Chamberlain, people like that around, and these are fights that are muted. You've got to rise to the top. The best will beat the best to get to the best, and so Richard Riahporhe has now put himself in a position to that. He set himself up in Loughborough University, and has taken himself away from home full time. That shows commitment. That shows want and desire, and I actually like seeing that in a fighter.
Very exciting times as well, especially on this card Saturday night. You've got a European title fight as well, some local talent. But Johnny, I have to get your thoughts on last Saturday night on what went down at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Alexander Usyk defeating Anthony Joshua to become the new heavyweight champion of the world. You sort of said in many interviews before the fight you were slightly worried for AJ. How worried are you now for Anthony Joshua, especially if he takes the rematch, which of course we all expect him to?
I expect him to take the rematch, and it's not an impossible task. Remember, those that saw him lose to Andy Ruiz saw that he's done. Yes, he was beaten more conclusively in against Alexander Usyk, and that's because he chose the wrong tactics. Now he has to throw caution to the wind and throw the kitchen sink at it. And he needs to bring that back, that spiky edge, to be a 3-time world champion. It's not an impossible task. It's not an impossible ask. It's a case of how he deals with it. And tactics he chose didn't work for him. The better man won on the night. So now he's got to think smart, think sharp, beat him once, see if he can lost him once, see if he can beat him a second time.
Did you agree with the tactics set up by Robert McCracken? And personally, did you think Anthony Joshua was capable of outboxing a fighter like Alexander Usyk?
I don't think Anthony Joshua is possible of outboxing AJ. I do think he has the ability to walk through Usyk. I do think he has the ability to hurt and get rid of him. But it's a case of which tactics you use. When you're going to fight fire with fire, you make sure your fire is the biggest. So AJ's fire is that natural strength, that natural punch power. That's what he's got to enforce on him. You don't go in there and try and box somebody that's been boxing since he's been able to stand up and expect to be able to outbox him. It would have been a massive feat to be able to beat Usyk on points, because Usyk, again, he's been that guy, he's been that fighter. But Anthony Joshua has the natural raw materials to get rid of him. So now tactics have to change. Tactics have to be brute force. Tactics have to be right. I'm throwing a kitchen sink at you, son. So if you're going to deal with me, you're going to deal with the whole of me.
What do you expect Anthony Joshua to do differently in the rematch, and what's your prediction for that rematch?
I expect him to be more offensive than defensive. I expect him to own who he is and fight like a hungry man. He fought like a man whose belly was full, and Usyk fought like a man that was hungry, that was chasing. Now the roles, the tables have turned, and Usyk is now the hunted, and AJ is the hunter, and that usually conjures up a different mentality, a different view to how you approach a fight.
Next Saturday night, we're all set for another huge heavyweight world title fight in Vegas. Tyson Fury defends his WBC Ring Magazine titles against the bronze bomber Deontay Wilder. I mean, a lot of people saying that AJ has to adapt in the rematch. We've seen Tyson Fury being able to adapt. What has Deontay Wilder got to do to win that fight? Because there's a lot of talk on how Tyson Fury will approach that fight. Will he look to outbox him like he did in the first fight? Will he look to rough him up on the inside in the second fight? But what do you see Deontay Wilder having to do differently?
What Deontay Wilder has to do is exactly what I said AJ has to do, which is use what attributes he's got, use his strength, use that brute force and put it on him. He's never going to outbox Tyson Fury in a million years. He can wait all night to get that one shot in and hope it lands. And twice now we've seen landed once and he got up from it. He's got to go in there and completely throw the kitchen sink at it. I think first 6-7 rounds, I'm going to give you hellfire, because I know if I touch you once, you're gone. If Wilder goes in there thinking I'm going to outbox Tyson Fury's predictions will be spot on right, and he'll walk straight. He'll get beat up again.
What's your prediction for that fight? Can you see Tyson Fury retaining his titles, or do you expect perhaps maybe another twist in the tail in this heavyweight division?
Tyson Fury retain the titles. I don't think. I think he's got Deontay Wilder's number. What I see, and this might be all because of that's what Deontay Wilder's pointing out. What I see, he hasn't changed anything apart from his team. He's not changed his reason for losing him. He's not accepted that thing, because once you accept that, you think, right, how do I fix this? All he's done is got rid of X, Y, Z because it's everybody else's fault why he lost. So you've got to take ownership on yourself. Think, right, what didn't work for me last time? You can't say there was some conspiracy there, some conspiracy there. That's why I lost. You've got to deal with you because you're the one with the bell gods that's left in the ring. So again, unless he can accept and understand why he lost, the same thing's going to happen again. And I've not heard anything that tells me he's accepting and understanding why he lost.
Amir Khan, Kell-Brook, there's been a bit of talk. There seems like... anything to say on what happened when you saw Kell yesterday?
He thinks Khan's slow timing him and just wanted to drop it on him last minute. So Kell's in the gym training. So he can switch it up to fight mode. He thinks Khan. So he's teased him again to talk about the fight. And then all of a sudden, if Khan says, right, let's do this fight on such and such a date, Kell can't really say no, and then Kell's at a disadvantage because he's not prepped. So now he's training as though the fight's going to come about. He's gym fit, to step it up to fight fit. But he's a little frustrated because he said, I've not heard anything. I think that's what he's going to do. So I'll wait.
Personally, do you think that fight happens? Because it's a fight everybody's been wanting to see for many, many years now. There's always been a bit of hope, but now it really has come to a point in their career when there's not many big fights left unless Khan was to fight a Conor Ben. Do you think that fight will happen eventually?
No, I don't. If that fight was going to happen, this fight was going to happen. In my opinion, I think on Khan's side, he's looking at other options as well as Kel, and he'll wait up that way. And listen, obviously, the best of this fight has gone. The best fight with both fighters is this one. Yes, it's interesting to get of interest, but to get Khan in with Conor Ben, and of course that'd be probably generate as much interest. So Khan's got options on who he wants to fight, whereas Kel's, I think he's putting his eggs in one basket in regards to looking at Khan, and I wouldn't do that. You need to just get on with Gikari and figure out what you're doing. But he looks in great condition, training, taking care of himself as though he's just ready to step it up to fight fitness. So I like that.
Johnny, before we bring the interview to an end, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. You know what? I'm here at the Boxer Presser, and it's actually interesting. It's fresh. We're in a warehouse. It's cold, but it's a nice fresh feel. So I'm as intrigued as you are.
Sorry, Johnny. I've got to ask you. We seem to have a bit of an issue over the last few years, especially cross promotions, Matchroom, Queensbury. Yeah. But now you've moved away from Matchroom, DAZN, Eddie Hearn. Is it more easier now to make fights with other promoters such as Frank Warren? I know you're teaming up with Top Rank, Wasserman Boxing, and Boxer. Can the sort of crop of fighters we got over here at Sky Sports, is it easier now to make fights with the likes of Queensbury Promotion and Frank Warren?
No, mate, it's not any different at all. Remember, you've got different promoters and different managers. Some doesn't like B, B doesn't like C, C likes A. So it's the same problems, different actors. So if somebody doesn't want their fighter to fight from another outfit, it just didn't happen. It wasn't just a Matchroom issue. This is a worldwide issue, so you can't pin that on just them. This is about TV rights, about promoters, and that's boxing. It's always been like that. And you've got to admit, boxing got to a stage where we were on the front and back page of every newspaper, fights that could nearly be made. This issue of two fighters not being able to fight because they're from different camp has always existed. So you can't pin that on anybody. You've got to be general about that and say, come on, boys. So unless there's a governing body that says, no matter what, number one fights number two, you're always going to have that problem.
All right. Okay, well, Johnny, thank you very much. A pleasure as always. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you for talking to Lights Out.
Nice one.